Hello, I'm back as promised. Today I wanted to share a little story with you guys. Kind of a funny story, very funny story actually. And I wanted to talk a little bit about fear. If you watched my last video, I talked about how I was overcome with fear when I found out I was pregnant, and how this feeling was somewhat like unfamiliar to me. Not that I don't feel fear. Obviously we all do to a certain extent, but it's not something that I experience a lot of, I guess, until more recent time. And this is what's so interesting to me, is that as we grow, as we mature, as we evolve, we change. And so I notice a lot of changes in me, and one of the things I notice is like my senses are just a little stronger. They're heightened, and it makes sense. I just had a baby, right? I need to be aware of my surroundings, of my environment a whole lot more, for the time being, hopefully. But anyway, the funny story is, I was on the couch and Joe put on a movie, and it was kind of in the background. I wasn't really paying attention to it, and I was kind of in and out of sleep. So I ended up falling asleep, and when I woke up, it was probably the last 20 minutes of the movie. And so it was like full gore and horror, and I started paying attention, and it was so scary. And I love scary movies. Something about me, I love scary movies since I was a kid. One of my first childhood memories is me watching The Exorcist with my family, and I've loved that movie and ever since. So anyway, it's unfamiliar for me to feel scared, especially of a movie. So I'm lying there on the couch, and I'm sleepy, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, but I'm scared. And I'm like talking to myself, because I think this is kind of absurd. I'm like, how am I scared to go to my room? But I was. And so I am just there waiting for it to like finish. And when it does, I'm starting, I'm going to the bedroom, and I'm still like in this state that is so strange to me. And I'm like, okay, I can't really shake it off. So anyway, I go to the bedroom, and then I'm in the bathroom, and I'm like, hurry up and get out, to be in the same room with Joe. And he went to bed first. And I'm like, okay, as soon as I get into bed, he's there, he'll make me feel safe. And then I'm thinking, what if he has like a scary face? What if he's evil, And again, I am just kind of talking myself out of this, because I know logically that that's not going to happen. But all these thoughts are coming. And the room is pretty dark, except for like a red night light that we have for the baby. And even that, I was like, why is this room red? Like, why did I choose red, for that night light? That's scary. So all these things. Finally, I lay in bed, and I'm like, I'm literally like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. Like, this is like, I don't want to feel like this anymore, and I can't really shake it off. And that's just it's almost absurd to me now. One of the thoughts that I had was like, okay, if like shit's going down, I'm gonna go outside. I've always felt secure like outside. Like if I go outside, just feel the yard, look in the sky, I'll be safe. And then I kept thinking, why didn't the girl in the movie go outside? Like, it can't be that easy. And so anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys, because I think it's so, now, it's interesting to me that as we change, as we become moms, just different, chapters in our life, that our whole perception of things change. And so I guess I have quite a bit of fears, and I think that's normal, and it's okay, and I'm embracing these changes because they're just happening. So yeah, just wanted to share that funny story, and thinking a lot about fears this week. One thing I do talk about with my clients when it comes to fear is helpful fears and not so helpful fears. And a more serious topic is that there are some fears that obviously will protect us, so they protect us from evil, doing things that could harm us. And then there's fears that are not so helpful. Maybe like the fear of rejection, the fear of being ill, the fear of death. In a book that comes to mind, Napoleon Hill, he talks in one of his books about what are the 6 basic fears. And we had to come inside. But I have here the book that I was talking about. It's Think and Grow Rich, very popular book. I love this book, and it's one of these books I never really finished reading. I just kind of pick it up and, reread it and share this with clients often. He talks about, and I couldn't really remember the 6 basic fears, but here they are: the fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love of someone, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. And he has a really interesting quote on here, because he says that the majority of people, when asked what they fear most, would say, "I fear nothing." The reply would be inaccurate, because few people realize that they are bound, handicapped, whipped spiritually and physically through some form of fear, so subtle and deeply seated in its emotion of fear that one may go through life burdened with it and never recognizing its presence. So, talking about unconscious fears. We may not be aware, yet we have symptoms of it. Symptoms, for example, of the fear of poverty are doubting oneself, being overcautious. So let's say staying at a job where you're not happy because you're afraid to leave because of this fear. Overcautious, so waiting for the right time to do things, waiting for the right time to go places. The fear of criticism. Interesting quote: men and women have been burned at the stake for daring to express disbelief in ghosts. He's talking about religion. He said, "It is no wonder we have inherited a consciousness which makes us fear criticism." So, makes sense, right? If we go against somebody else's beliefs, people have actually got killed for things like that. But in this day and age, do we actually need that fear of criticism? No, it's something we can acknowledge and understand it and learn to let go of it, because it isn't helpful. We're not going to burn at the stake these days for having difference of opinions. So it's a fear that we can learn to let go of, because it's not helpful. The fear of ill health. He talks about hypochondriacs that are always thinking about disease, thinking about buying health, buying things that may not really repair your health, yet we become obsessed with these things. It says the powerful and mighty is the human mind. It builds or destroys. Anyway, these are really interesting, and it got me thinking, which of these do I suffer from? And if it's an unconscious fear, then I'm not aware of it, yet it's probably shaping my behaviors, my actions, my decisions in ways that I'm not aware of. So that's why I think it's important to bring these things to more of the conscious mind, so then you can do something about it and not be limited by things that you're not really aware of. Last thing I'll say here, the fear of death. Again, it's not a helpful fear. Why? Because it's inevitable. We're all gonna die, and having the fear may stop you from living, a full life, living an adventurous life. So I wanted to share those with you all. Again, a few things that I was thinking about this week, and I thought it was interesting how you become aware of something, and how to just learn to unpack it and accept it and then process it, so it's not there causing things that aren't helpful. So I hope this was helpful. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.